Drake, how you doing? Go ahead, sir.
I'm doing fine. I've been doing some things, too, in case anybody didn't notice. I was in the chat room for a little bit, and I was also on the Facebook page for a little bit. And I've been kind of looking around and keeping my ear to the ground and trying to figure out what's going on. One of the things came to my attention not too long ago. Everybody says nothing's happening. And I can understand that frustration. It don't seem like there's much going on. However, and this is not here. This is in Italy. But I want everybody to think about this. This is something that took place. Let's see here. The notices were sent, I believe. Let's see. What does it say? Okay, notice was sent 7 days ago. This thing was posted on June 9th, so that means the notices went out June 2nd. Network Bank Investments, with a short notice, decided to block all accounts, and so any means of getting to money in any form, online or cash, is not possible. Now, this is a bank closing. Now, I want everybody to think about that. And there's reasons for this. There's reasons that I'm reporting this. First of all, some of these things were known to be coming. And some of these things are the direct results of different portions of a group that I am a part of that gets involved with the illegal theft, borrowing, leveraging, etc., that has been going on in a combination of places financially. Now, there's no way to get into your accounts. When I went to pay a mechanic, this is a policeman in Milan. When I went to pay the mechanic office for my car, the bankomat, that's your automatic teller, did not work, nor was I able to make a transfer. Actually, they took all of my money away. Now I got 20 euro in my wallet, a wife and two daughters. How am I going to do it? My account is also where my salary goes. So now what? Ladies and gentlemen, it's a good idea to have a combination of things to be prepared for such incidences. Nobody knows how long this thing is going to be out. They suggest in the article 30 days. This is quoted on this page. Okay, the Institute decided in an extraordinary meeting last November, getting the green light from Banca d'Italia to suspend any money transfer for all month. Last November, interesting. Some of the things that have been going on, people say nothing's happening. Well, this is just a quick overview of some things that could happen here. And I've had the pleasure to read a whole bunch of posts, both positive and negative. Some not so nice, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. It goes to freedom of speech and a little statement that somebody made a long time ago. I may not agree with what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. So go ahead. Now, some of the posts that I answered, very simply, deal with the qualities involved in not outing sources that people, I got to know, prove it. Well, okay, I offered several of these people that I would make them a source for inside information and see whether or not they enjoyed being on a list of varying types. And I'm trying to make a point. If several different people I know were to do that to certain individuals, you're going to have some serious problems, quite honestly. And that ain't a threat, that's a promise. These people will come after you. Anything they can think of, in any way, shape, or form, harassment from local police, all the way to the federal government. And that's one of the ways they work. If they see that it's really something nasty, they will come after you. Some of them would have liked to have come after me, except that I'm doing both sides a favor. The bad guys, they can contact the principals I deal with without too much problem. And they've been having some conversation. They've been making some suggestions. Totally crazy, I must admit, from what I've found. But nevertheless, at least they're trying to figure something out. Now, everybody seems to take issue with the idea of taking a vote. That's all well and good. Opinions vary. They go from the absolute positive, nastiest negative you ever read in your whole life, all the way to the most positive, loving yes, sir, and yahoo and all that that you ever read in your life. So they vary. And there's a lot in between. So a lot of people got questions. The voting page is still up on my website, from what I understood last. And I would suggest that you look exactly at what it does, what it says, and what was there to be voted on. First of all, you had the 3 items that I listed, and they're basic items that I think most people probably would enjoy the benefits of. I don't know of anybody who would not benefit from what I was suggesting that we accept. Now, this would be an offer from them to us. I want you to take a note. I want you to take a good look, and I want you to think. And I know sometimes people's emotions get in the way of their head and they can't think too well. That goes a long way in different directions. Depending on the individual, depends on the result of that. However, I found that a lot of people were objecting to things, and it was obvious to me that their common sense was not engaged when they put their brain in gear to look at what was being stated. Now, I would suggest everybody go look at that. And the reason I'm suggesting this is that you won't find anything there for the bad guys. It's all us. We want at least what's there. Some want different things, a little bit different than what's there. Some decided that they didn't like the idea of Nocera. Some actually sent me emails saying Nocera didn't exist. Well, I've found that it does. I did my own personal checking through some contacts I have, and it was verified. It's real. It's there. However, I want you to note on that same light that there's a lot of laws and executive orders and other happy horse manure that's been dangled in front of our faces or slapped us upside our sensitivities that says, ooh, we can come get you. All you got to do is say the government sucks or something to that effect, and you are then interfering with the government operation, and we can come get you and take you away. I got a problem with people who look at that and say, oh, this is absolute. And the reason I do is it's just like martial law. Show me. I ain't seen it. Yeah, there's documentation in this case. But then I've had other objections that don't have any documentation other than this is what, this is the way I feel about it, and how dare you take a vote, and all else. Well, the only reason I took that vote was curiosity, and the fact that I had mentioned it before I got a chance to talk to Mr. Keenan about it. He suggested that it was not necessarily a good idea to take the vote because he was going to be in negotiations of different sorts. Now, one of the neat things about this vote was that there was somebody, this guy must have had a lot of time on his hands. He must be one of those people that doesn't have nothing to do but click on a computer. This one individual sent 10,000 FUs. 10,000 FUs. Come on, dude. I mean, everybody knows what that means the first time they hear it. You don't need to repeat yourself, but I guess you try to load things up and that, whatever. Out of the total number that we ended up with, we got 4,818 votes total that we counted in that very short period of time, which I think was actually pretty good for as short a time and as short a notice and all that. Now, I think there's probably a lot more freedom-loving people out there than just 4,800 plus. And so I asked Soldier Hugs to keep their voting open, if they didn't mind, just a curiosity, see whether or not more people would vote. And it's up to y'all. You want to vote? You want to vote? Go for it. The numbers we got were rather astonishing. Out of 4,818, there was 28 no's, 4,790 yeses. The percentage comes out to 99.4%. So we don't even have a 1%er to deal with. I want everybody to take a good look at that. Everybody that did vote, who has some sort of interest enough to go ahead and do it, voted exactly pretty much the way I thought that it might go. And I'm happy that they did. Now, everybody, or at least a whole bunch of people, took issue with Lady Dragon's website. She does internet gambling, investment in games, and things of that nature for a living. That's why her website's got that funny stuff on there. Well, I don't mind, because it don't matter to me what somebody does for a living when it's at least not stealing like some of these other people do. So I didn't mind talking to her. Now, she's also working on freeing Canada. Now, I heard through the grapevine that last week Canada went broke. Now, let you think about that. Canada. We're getting closer to home. Now we're not across the pond. We're neighbors. They went broke. In the great wisdom of the central bank, which has unlimited printing press capability, we sent them monies to tide them over. Now we're paying for their problems as well. I do believe this needs to be stopped, and I think most people agree to that idea. Now, several people mentioned that there was no unconditional surrender. Well, really? What conditions did we give to the cabal, the bad guys, the banksters, the crooks? Note the three things that were voted on. They're up for vote. They ain't in there. As a matter of fact, the basis of what is in there takes away their capability to ever do this again, and largely to keep what they did get. It's got to be returned. Neil and I have discussed this considerably. Neil Keenan is the one that's doing the negotiations because he has the capability of the legal and lawful control of the collateral accounts. And believe me, there's a whole bunch of them. It ain't just one. There are a few accounts that he doesn't have control over, and some of those are beginning to be used in varying places. But he has a majority of control of them. In other words, our bad guys here that think it's funny to screw things up have a real serious problem getting the equity necessary to authorize them to print money. All that money that they printed for Canada was illegal. Oops. To go along with it, the printings after a certain date are considered as well worthless. A lot of foreign countries, and you've heard me say this before, are not accepting that cash. They're not accepting the American dollar that was fabricated out of BS, or whatever you want to call it. There are several posts that I found that were actually pretty well written. We've got some writers out there in the group, and the questions they asked were very succinct. I tried to answer some of them to an extent. A lot of them I did not answer purposely because I thought they were stated well enough that they didn't need an answer, that question should ride. Now, here's the thing. You're not going to find all of this stuff. And I mean, how's the dollar work? How's the economy going to be reshaped? What's the restructuring of this? How do we get this to go over there and act right? A lot of this stuff is not written in stone. We're going to get to figure out what it is, decide on what we know needs to be done, and this is according to the Constitution, a few little minor documentations that we got running around. And the gist of it is this. This little poll, it don't mean anything. It was simply a vote. That's it. It was just a quickie check of some numbers to see what would happen. The same thing's true of soldier hugs and their voting thing. It's just a simple look at what's going on. What do you think? How do you feel about it? Nothing more than that. And I would imagine that from what I hear, the numbers at soldiers hugs is running about the same. So everybody basically agrees that we need financial freedom, that we need the anywhere from 600 to 800 or more suppressed and hidden technologies released, so that our manner of living can be improved dramatically. And everybody wants to go back to some of the original founding documents in such a manner that we are a free people, period. These are things I've stressed in other shows, and I've stressed it online. And then I've also stressed another thing, and this is a key component, and I want everybody to think about this. One of the reasons I stirred the pot in terms of playing this game with this vote was to get everybody excited. The reason being is that the excited person is going to expend that excitable energy in a definitive direction. First thing they're going to do is post, whichever direction they might feel, however they feel about my existence or using up their oxygen or, you're a good guy, cool, or whatever it might be. Then they're going to think about it. And, well, I wonder who I might know that might be interested. Would you like to vote for freedom? Does it mean anything? I don't know. We can try it and see. That's basically the idea. What happens is you start waking people up by doing such things. This has been and will continue to be a major problem in terms of our efforts. We're looking at trying to put together something that will bring about a large enough voice that it can no longer be ignored. Now, at the same time, we're kicking the stool out from under the bankers. They're going to land on their fat butts. The problem is that they cannot get away from what has been started. They cannot negate it, and they do not have the funds, no matter where they go to deal with it. So basically, they're pretty much done. The reason they're trying to negotiate now is so that they can maybe, live in the garage and have a goat and maybe maybe a little garden, and they can live out their lives. They don't want to be killed any more than anybody else. However, there's a whole bunch of them who desperately need to quit using our oxygen, in my opinion. That's my opinion only. There are some who have killed millions because of their actions, and they do need to be held accountable. Now, a lot of these other ones, I look at it this way. Would you be interested if they were to return the monies, to return the foreclosed homes, to help repair them maybe, if they got anything left to do that with? How about jobs? You talk about 600 to 800 different types of new technologies, and they're rather neat in some of what they do. I'm familiar with about 30 of them, give or take, and they're extraordinary. There's things that people have dreamed of and seen in science fiction movies, things that would make such an extraordinary change in life that everybody could eat. Now, I want you to think about that. No more hunger. Well, if you satisfy a person a little bit, if you take care of them a little bit, you garner a loyalty. Now, what is this loyalty to? I am hoping, praying, and absolutely adamant that it ain't me. The loyalty that these people should feel, the part of their heart that cries out for freedom, should be directed directly to freedom, directly to being able to know that their neighbor is not going to go hungry or do without, to know that they aren't, to know that we have a planet that is capable of producing way more than what we need in terms of what it requires for us to have a decent life. So a lot of things are going to change. These changes are going to be dramatic. And yes, I don't know if everybody's followed it, but lately there's been a lot of talk about free energy. There's been a lot of talk about little electrical devices that you can stick in your house and you don't have a light bill anymore. And in some cases, you produce enough electricity that the power company buys it from you. For a while, they'll have an electrical grid simply because not everybody can be got to it at the same time. Now, think about that. I want you to think about one other thing. Just how many people is it going to take care of each and every last household, business, apartment building, etc., in this country with just a free energy device? That's only one. Do you realize they would probably drop the unemployment rate to around 5% at minimum, maybe more? You talk about summer jobs. You talk about everybody having something to do, full employment if they wish it, and in something that not only makes a difference, but also, as I understand, is supposed to pay well. So you're going to have pretty much a combination of things happening. Some of this is futuristic, but judging by that number at 99.4%, I was overjoyed when I saw that. I was hoping that it would have been 100, but you always got one person in the crowd that says, "I don't think so." And no matter how sweet a deal it is or whatever, and it doesn't matter how intelligent or their profession or anything, they just choose to object. I want everybody to understand about that vote. I also want them to be aware of this bank closure and that it's real. You can't get anything out of it. You may not transfer any monies. And what you got to look at, they did this sneaky. This was something that was decided a long time ago. They're talking about that it was decided in November, and yet they don't announce it until the first week of June. Now, does that tell you that somebody's trying to maybe sneak up on somebody? I think it should. If it doesn't, you need to wake up more so than you are now. No possibility to get to their accounts. Well, does this mean we ought to take all our money out of the bank? Good question. You might consider starting to do that a little bit, depending on how much it costs you to take something out of what you've got. That's another little thing I really don't like. They charge you extra for the privilege to take your own money out of an account. Come on, man. They're making up to anywhere from 10 to 100 times what's in the account. The manner of fractional banking that's been going on forever, and they're going to complain about you taking a little money out and charge you for it? Yeah, right. Well, anyway, so with a short notice, 7 days ago, they gave them a whole week, and it was hard to read from what I understand. The notice was sent out 7 days ago, thus not many were able to read it. In other words, they weren't able to be aware of it. The bank obviously didn't advertise the fact that they were going to close things down for 30 days. But the Institute has so decided in an extraordinary meeting last November, getting the green light from Banca d'Italia to suspend any money transfers for a whole month. if you're on direct deposit, that ain't going to be cool. It might be a lot better if you got a direct check in the mail. Yeah, it's nice to have the money go in at the same day that you that you're supposed to get whatever it is you're getting, whether that's a paycheck or Social Security or what it might be. But you see what they did here, and then believe me, these banks are a lot alike in a lot of ways, and this should point out something everybody needs to be aware of. So, basically what I'm looking to do here at this point, and this is up to everybody and their mother-in-law who is attached to this radio program right now, I was going to offer a little Q&A if somebody was interested in doing that. What do you think, Paul?
I think this is a good idea. We can definitely start unmuting some lines here. We have actually I don't have a live listeners number of live listeners number for you for this show. I know it's got 599 followers. Okay.
We got questions in chat or on the Facebook page they'd like to ask.
Yeah, let me get to the conference call. Yes, there are some people that have unmuted themselves. And can I get someone to raise a hand with a question?
Can I speak out?
Yeah. What's your name, please?
Jim Lovell.
Jim. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, as I understood it, a vote actually does something, like it changes something. I think that this is more of a survey, isn't it? Isn't it more like a customer survey or I don't know, but yeah, I'd call it a customer survey, and I didn't see where I was hurting anybody or helping anybody except adding my name to the pot. So I'll just back off. I don't have any problem with a poll. What are you going to call it?
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Actually, that vote had a lot more to do with a successful outcome of this than you might have thought of, and I'll see if I can't touch on that a little bit later on after questions and answers. Do we have someone else? Do we have someone else with a question? Anybody want to raise their hand?
Hey, Paul, can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Paul, my name's Gary. I'm in Florida.
Yes, Gary.
Question I have is, I've been following this for some time, and I've been involved in various aspects of following this for years. But I guess my question, I'm a little confused on the vote itself. I understand it's more or less just testing the waters on people's their feelings on moving forward with the various things that Drake put out there on the web pages. Nassar being one of those, but where are we really at with this whole thing at this point in time? I mean, obviously negotiations are happening behind the scenes, and we appreciate that. Mr. Keenan is probably doing a good job of that, but I guess we're all wondering out here is where are we at? Where does this put us all at this point in time on a timeline for various things to start being seen, publicly at this point?
Drake, can you answer that?
Yeah. First of all, I'm not going to give any timelines because I got screwed by the military twice in terms of their timeline. It wasn't mine, it was theirs.
I understand.
And it did not come to fruition, and I really got upset about the fact that they failed to perform as they said they would. Now, I did find out that there were conditions they sort of forgot to mention, and that happens with all deals. But in terms of timelines, well, that's a good question. The numbers that I got were sent to Neil Keenan so that he could use it as a bargaining chip. Let the people here know exactly what people thought of what was going on and where they felt they were at. We feel like we're at the bottom of the barrel, and 99% think it would be better if we got over the hump on at least the three items I mentioned. There may be more, and I would strongly suggest that there are. But as far as timelines, I don't know. I could throw out anything. I don't know how long it's going to take these people to start losing enough money to start paying attention to what Neil's talking to them about. if we got over the hump on it. It shouldn't be very long, I wouldn't think, because here you got one rather large bank. It ain't huge necessarily, but it ain't little, and no notification. They decided I'll say 7 months ago to close up for a month, and didn't even bother telling anybody. Well, that's real sweet, Would seem to me there ought to be some lawsuits or something happen out of that, but. And this could be coming to your neighborhood soon. That's a possibility. The large banks, and I mean the larger ones, are the ones that are in trouble. They've been dealing largely with the central banking system. The reason that banks have to deal with the central banking system is there's two of them actually. First is they don't keep funds on hand in terms of funds to cover the outlays that they would have, say, for a mortgage. They don't keep on hand the bonds themselves that are being paid towards in terms of getting them paid up to the point where they can be released. And the other part of it is that because they don't, you've got the central banking system sitting there popping off truckloads of money. Now, the other part of that is the securitization. Everybody has heard of credit default swaps. If you haven't, look it up. It's a nasty little piece of junk that the best mathematicians and rocket scientists can't figure out what it is or how it works. Some kind of insurance, supposedly, when somebody defaults on their loan, that kicks in, but only under certain conditions. And there's a whole load of them. It's sort of like to find in any insurance contract. So there's a lot to this.
Okay. We have somebody out there who is, I guess, breathing into their phone, and we're hearing it. And I believe that we had somebody in there that was just raising her hand for a question. Do we have a question out there?
Can you hear me, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, Drake, I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you have been doing for such a extended period of time, and for you to hopefully extend that thanks that I think a lot of us are feeling to the folks that you're in contact with, as well as Mr. Keenan, since we don't have that opportunity. And to let you know that there are, we do appreciate what's being done. And in addition to that, my question was simply, you'd mentioned in the previous show about some of the advanced technologies, and one of them was like regrowing limbs. And I was thinking about that a little bit, and it seems to me that if you're regrowing a limb, that means you're regrowing bone, muscle, tendons, skin, and all of that. So it actually has far more reaching benefits than just helping people that have been, lost a limb. And is this going to be something when it comes out that's actually going to be affordable, or is it going to be like you're really going to need a ton of money to get this going? Because, I'm just wondering about that.
Okay. From what I understand, it does not cost a lot as such to produce the machines. They're not real cheap, but they're not as pricey as some of the ones we have now. Consequently, my understanding too is that these machines basically don't require any maintenance other than maybe cleaning them off a little bit. Now, no, I don't think so. I have not heard yet, so I can't say for sure. But my opinion is that I am doubting, because of the cost of what they're doing, that it will be exorbitantly expensive. So people should think about, and that's just one example. Think about 800 of something of that nature, of that advanced quality. And, we're not going to have enough people in this country to take care of the employment. It's just that simple. So, that's something to think about.
Well, it has a lot of implications for working together a little bit more globally in a positive way, as opposed to, all being governed by one entity, but actually just working together and thinking together for the good of all.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Now, along that line, I was quoted a number, and in the United States, we got 300 and some million people. Altogether, to be set free, there's somewhere around the neighborhood of 6 to 9 billion people who have the same sorts of concerns and problems, different types, different places, that we do, that they're looking to take care of. So you have to understand that Neil Keenan is not going to just consider the United States. He also has to consider a lot of other countries, the basis of the problem in terms of what the conditions are and how best to go about making sure that we can take care of the problems. So those are some of the considerations. And I will pass along the thanks to everybody to Mr. Keenan. Much obliged.
Okay. We've got a couple of questions from the chat room. First of all, we had a comment from Kimberly. Please ask Drake to mention that you can still vote at soldierhugs.com. That is www.soldierhugs.com. There is a tag to that address, but I'm sure you can get to it from the homepage. Just look for Cabal Surrender Vote. Let's see. And yes, you can still vote there. Eagle is asking, why do you trust the Cabal to deal with them as they're basically the purest perverted evil there is?
Well, to be quite honest about it, I don't trust them any more than I would want to throw one, and they probably are slimy, so I probably wouldn't pick them up in the first place. Now, we had a president, and old Tricky Dick used to say he wanted to make this perfectly clear. Hold his hands up, I am not a crook, and all this happy stuff. Yeah, right, okay. Very simply, the Cabal, the bad guys, the turkeys, they don't have a choice. I want to make that perfectly clear. Their finances, all of them are gone. They've been cut off, first of all, and they're in process of being alleviated of their pocket change, whatever that may be. So, basically, the conditions that have been offered are something that they need to make available to us in order to keep sharing our oxygen. You either want a lynch mob, or you don't mind being adjudicated. At least I think we should, instead of lowering ourselves to the just go over and shoot him, it's cheaper and quicker. That's what they do. We are supposed to be better than that, and I think we need to prove that through adjudication. Now, that don't mean that somebody who's took a few grand should be adjudicated on the same level as somebody who's taken hundreds of millions or billions. I don't believe that at all. And I don't believe that somebody who maybe influenced somebody a little bit should be held accountable at the same level that somebody who had people killed. It just don't, those things, you want equity in this. We also want to prove to the world and to our maker and morality and common sense and a few other things that we are not what they are. That we can not only do better, but come out with something that people can live with. Now, I've already intimated that there's going to be some people given the death sentence. Just that simple. There are several of them that do, in my opinion, need that. Now, I ain't the judge, so I ain't got to say, but there's also a whole bunch of them that don't deserve that level of punishment, in my opinion. So we made them a deal they can't refuse. Pretty soon they ain't going to have any power left at all. Then what do you? Then you're really screwed. You got the gun in your pocket. Whatever you might have been able to pull, be that gold coin, be that diamonds, whatever kind of riches they might have. What are you going to do? Put it in a bag and run around the country, try to disappear? It don't work that way. And I'd like to thank Eagle for asking that question, because this is something I wanted to address. I want everybody to understand there was no provision in the voting, on at least the one I did, for the Cabal. It was all us. The only voting issues were ours, not theirs. Terry posted some things on the Sarah, and she mentioned that fact that you can't deal with the devil. Well, we're not. When you got the devil nailed with his whatever's nailed to the wall, he ain't going there too much anywhere real quick. That's first. Secondly, no provision for them, and yet I would make the offer. We will offer adjudication, a fair and honest trial, and this time we get to actually present the real evidence, not part of it, and all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to this. I really am.
Sounds
Next.
like fun. Sounds like fun. And let's see. We've got a couple of more questions. Well, no, actually, that was just a smart alecky comment. Nasara mentioned 6,000 plus suppressed technologies. You mentioned 600 to 800 only. What's with the disconnect there?
Okay, well, the disconnect is simple. If you go and look, you can find out that there are between 600 and 800 for sure. The other thousands are hidden away pretty well. They're not easily accessed. There are thousands, the last I checked. And since I checked, I tried to go back and check again, and that stuff had been erased. Now, whether these people can come up with something that shows different, I don't know. If they can, go for it, post it, make it go stupid, that's fine. I know of at least 600 to 800, and I'm talking totally distinct technologies, not just one area like free energy, where you got a lot of offshoots. That would be one, okay? The medical technologies would be two, okay? Take that a step further, what's number three? I mean, this is the type, when I say technologies, that I refer to. Now, the reference, like I said, 600 to 800 at least, and there may be more, and there very probably are. So that's the best explanation I can give you on that.
Okay, well, just like a follow-up question on the medical issue, will disclosure include cures for radiation poisoning? Do you know specifically if those exist?
I'm going to name a name. A man's name is Will Spencer. He's got some stuff that'll help you take care of that now. And it's a simple biological treatment, like supplements. To rid the planet, you need to take the same sorts of things and spray it into the environment. These things are totally inert in terms of effects on humans, plants, etc., except that they do gobble up radioactivity. That's what they do. And, you spray. Then I understand we're supposed to be able to have an energy, some kind of an energy deal, where you broadcast a beam, and I don't know if it's probably a white-based beam, like a wide-angle lens, and fly an airplane across until you cover the whole planet, maybe several of these aircraft, and that's supposed to take care of anything that's biologics mess.
Okay.
Yeah, it's there. We're going to need some serious atomic radiation abatement. I just looked at a report from Indiana that showed that they are cooking, and that ain't good. That's 2/3 of the way across the country, approximately. So that means it's gone past the Rocky Mountains. And I heard about just short of plants glowing in the dark out in California area and whatnot. So, go from there.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Yeah. One second. I have a completely harebrained comment that isn't related to anything. But as far as the radiation poisoning things, and I wonder if anybody on the caller knows Robin Williams. He might actually have a case or two of Nuke Away left over from his Mork from Ork days. Go ahead. Question.
All right. Thank you for taking my call. I have a two-part, very short question. First of all, so you're saying the cabal doesn't have any money, but they're still spraying chemtrails. Are those chemtrails there to attack the radiation, or are they're making people sick? And secondly, why can't the American people sue for right to redress against grievances since our government is killing us?
Very good. That's answer to the first one is that some of these idiots still got gas in the tank, and there's some money left from the contracts that they contracted with the bad guys. When that's going to end, I don't know. It should have ended already, but it hasn't. And no, it's not good stuff they're spraying as such.
Yeah, thank
the
you.
second part of your question was?
Suing for the right to redress against grievances against the government. The right to redress against grievances, which is in the Bill of Rights, right?
Yeah, partially. You got to remember, we are regressing the government back to what it was, so that we can restructure it according to common law, common sense, decent morality, like the golden rule, things of this nature. So the government, basically, and this is very, very important, it's basically going to be out of business. We are not going to need a federal government per se. There'll be a few coordinators. That's about it.
What about people who've been injured by the government?
Huh?
I don't understand why people who've been injured by the government cannot sue for the right to redress against grievance. I grew up with a lawyer. I know that we have the right to redress against grievance, and if the government has injured you in such as spraying chemicals, lying about medical treatment, any other numbers of things they do, you should be able to have the right to sue them for a right to redress against.
We do already.
Right. Find a lawyer.
I would suggest that you go to the debt elimination shows that Terry has and some other people are involved in. They can direct you to people that can help you with that.
Okay.
And I'm talking about legalists that are very good.
All right.
And if you're really serious, the problem is that
I've been saving 20 years of papers. I'm serious.
Well, I would imagine that the time that it's going to take, because of the legal system being a scam, that you're liable not to get the case through before things start getting taken care of anyway. But if you feel, ready to go, then I would suggest you get with them. They can refer you to some people. If not, I will find some people to refer that you can use that will help you with those things. Okay?
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks.
We have another question from the chat room. What about the $125 billion bailout to Spain? Wasn't there a report that a bailout had already occurred? Blackjack info or something like that?
Yeah. You got money floating around all over the place. Now, what you got to remember is that it's money that's moving sideways. There's not an inflow. So what they take from one place and put to another, that place they took it from is going to be minus some funds. If you'll remember, the basis in terms of the manner in which currencies and economics works, when you pull money out of an economy, it creates all kind of problems. When you add money to an economy, and this is usually suddenly, you also create a different set, but some similar problems of the same nature. And this is the problem with the present structure of the financial system. It's got to be totally redone to a point where this sort of thing is, first of all, not possible by anybody, and secondly, you've got a basis of equity rather than debt.
Okay. We have another one from the chat room. Boy, these guys are on fire. What are your takes on the Palestine situation?
Who?
The Palestine situation?
There's a lot of things over there that need to be rectified. The problem seems to be that the same system that illegally and immorally rules us also rules that situation. Until that situation is taken care of, until the bad guys worldwide are taken down, you're still going to have to put up with that. I don't like it. Okay. Not at all. That's like Vietnam was having a war without declaring one. Wonderful. I was part of a freaked out, stupid experiment that cost a bunch of lives for no real reason. We shouldn't have been there. So, that's basically it.
Okay. Well, some of the other biggies, some of the other sources are saying that the mass arrests are still on the table, and that seems to conflict with what you're saying, or doesn't it?
There could be both, and what you don't understand is that when you strip, you can take the top hierarchy, strip them of everything, put them in a little storage unit, and let them live out their days if they give everything back willingly, if they help us willingly. Below that, you've got a whole bunch of people that have a problem with what's called the love of money, that there is never a situation that arises where enough is enough. They continue to take any way they can from anybody they can get a hold of. And this is a portion of the evil that is probably one of the worst. These people will do just about anything to keep their little fun and games moneymaker running. And these are the people you have serious problems with. It's the guy that shows up in the suit, or old clothes, whatever, walks over next to you and bumps you in front of a train or whatever. That's these people. I'm not saying that the top echelons are any better. They're not. They're the ones that tell them to, here, go ahead and do it. It's fine with me. So you got a lot of evil there, and it's going to have to be dealt with very, very carefully, very succinctly. There are not as many truly evil people as people think in terms of finance. And I want to make that perfectly clear. Some people went out there, they got a combination of lucky, and they were smart about what they did, and were careful about what they did, and they ended up wealthy. Now, at a certain point, that wealth puts you into the same class as the crooks, maybe, but not necessarily in the same manner did they get there. If they've not done something nasty, then I would suggest that they're not guilty.
Okay. Now, there's so many different schools of thought, and caller, I've got you. Just a second. This is my last question, I promise. And all these are coming from the chat rooms. I'm just not trying to control everything, but there's so many different schools of thought on how people should manage their money. That whether they have it in a big bank or whether they have it in a credit union or whatever. And you had also mentioned earlier that people should take steps to hedge their bet just in case the big bank that they happen to deal with does like cancellation or moratorium on electronic transfers. Would you suggest taking a portion of a person's money or most of a person's money and putting it in a smaller credit union?
I would suggest that people look at one thing, equity to obligation ratio. That'll tell you whether or not a bank is in decent shape. And it'll also tell you where to put your money. The ones that have got the best capital in terms of their debt ratio is where you want to be. The second part of that is you do not want to deal with somebody who is heavily connected to the Federal Reserve System. Third part of this is that you can take some of your monies, put it there, and I would honestly suggest, and this is a for real suggestion, see if you can find some simple silver coinage from 64 or before, so that you can use this as regular currency. It's going to have there's going to be a silver price, and you have a by weight value in these coins. And these things are going to become a part of the exchange system in terms of what's going to happen with the barter system that's going to be put in over that first week of everybody shut down, which is very probable to happen.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, caller. I appreciate your patience. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Drake. My name is Pete Riley, and I really appreciate everything you're doing and those efforts of the people that you're representing with the Pentagon. My question is, if we're living in a society that's based on corporate law that is not valid, and we have to return back to a constitution of 1781 or 1787, and the Neil Keenan lawsuit he's filing based on the corporate law now, how is that valid if we need to return, or the only valid law that we are under right now is the common law?
Okay. You've got several different things that goes into this. First of all, whenever you deal with a corporation, you're talking about commercial law. Secondly, the commercial code combines a portion of both common law and maritime law. Maritime law supposedly trumps common law. However, maritime law also is supposed to be limited to the seas. So when I said that our justice system was going to do a major remodel, rebuild, or whatever you want to call it, I'm not kidding. This is going to be extraordinarily major. We're going to have some very experts in all of these fields in order to make sure that certain things are the way they need to be in order to treat everyone fairly. So you're going to have a combination of things that will be a little bit more unique than what we have now, and a whole lot less complicated.
Okay. Thank you very much. There's a lot of people that are wondering at the radical reduction of the size of the government and basically the government going away or changing, altering completely. There's a lot of people that have valid concerns because either they're on disability, they're on SSI, they're retired, whatever. Are there safeguards and balances put into Mr. Keenan's negotiations to ensure that these people don't find themselves in a dire condition?
It's not just Neil that would be doing this. Okay, this would be something that the states would have to take up as a subject on a legislative basis. In other words, you're going to do away with a lot of the federal government and a lot of the divisions and this and that's and whatever departments, whatever you want to call them all. So what you're looking at is, yes, extraordinary changes, but most people don't understand this, but I'll explain it one time. These things are called trading platforms. If you put $100 million into a trading platform, you get $100 million out about every 10 days or so. If that were done by military, if that were done by Social Security, or whatever need might be there, I would suggest that sort of a financial gain would offer capability for these things to be self-sustaining.
Okay.
And that to me sounds, pretty decent. Now, whether that's absolutely possible or not, I'm not sure yet. We'll have to find that out as we go.
Okay.
From what I understand, there's supposed to be some sort of provisions to take care of a combination of both military expenditures, disability, Social Security, veterans benefits, and like that.
Okay.
Okay.
It was suggested that just in preparation for things that go on, and just to connect with your community, connect with your neighbors, it was suggested that that people organize neighborhood block parties or neighborhood potluck dinners, like once a week or so, like that, like either in the gymnasium of a local church or barbecue out in a parking lot or whatever. Just a means of getting everybody together and everybody providing a small amount of food to create this huge feast where people are just sitting talking to their neighbors, and people that they may not even know because they live 2 or 3 blocks away from them or something like that. Would that be a good thing to kind of like do a dry run and get that in place? So if the food on the shelves of the stores empty out and the doors are locked, whatever, and there's concern about whether everybody in an area is going to eat, there would already be an infrastructure where they could bring people together and use the collective value of the group to support everyone?
I think that would be all well and good when it is done in a temporary fashion. The problem now in the basis of what we have is collectivism. Collectivism is where you take from those who have and give to those who don't. Pretty simply. There are some summary experts that I have talked to at length about this, and a barter and trade can be made in such a fashion that we'll take care of the groceries. You come over and do laundry for her if you can now. Okay, come over and do laundry for her, or dishes for this one, or clean somebody's house, or just watch the kids. I mean, there's a lot of different ways this can be done. You could put big ballooning tires on a wheelchair and have somebody rolling around the garden hoeing or something. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that this can be worked out. But and especially, and a lot of people take exception to the idea of charities or taking charity, and their pride gets in the way. Well, they could take care of that problem this way. Well, come over and mow my grass. I got 5 acres of grass needs mowed, and I can at least come up with three days food at least, and bingo, you then are outside of a cash economy, and yet being able to provide for everyone. So yes, in that respect, but be careful about the collectivism that it does not become permanent.
Okay. Good point. At this point, I'm going to call for any more questions from callers.
I've got a question.
Okay, I'd like to take a break for a couple of minutes, but I want to get through to the callers' questions.
Okay.
So go ahead, caller. Thank you.
Drake, a question for you. It seems like we were all running full speed ahead for a common goal of, arresting the individuals that have perpetrated these crimes, and we were going to have an interim government to the government as far as the governor's level, and all these things were moving forward, and we were anticipating the green light, and from someone that's dealing with a lot of issues, like millions of Americans and people around the world, there just doesn't seem to be any remedy for us in the courts. Our homes are being stolen from us with the help of the judges and the attorneys. Criminal side, we're entering into an admiralty court that does not adhere to the Constitution. There's no due process of the law. It's very frustrating. And it just seems like all of a sudden somebody just decided that they weren't going to be able to pull this thing off, so now we're negotiating with the bankers. And it just gives me, and I'm sure a lot of others, the impression that somebody got cold feet, or the plan changed in midstream, or what happened to the momentum that it appeared we had in the beginning of this thing.
The momentum's still there. The mass arrests could still take place. This is not in my hands. This is up to the military and others. The ideology of negotiation does not necessarily mean that you're really negotiating. But you can also find out a lot of things about your enemy when they decide that they may have a problem and they might need to talk to you about it. So don't necessarily look at things as they may seem on the surface. Now, as far as just going right straight after them, as I said on the other show, it's a choice between whatever war they might be able to make and peace. Now, I would suggest that were they willing to give up whatever and give us what we asked for in terms of the vote, and then slap their butts into FEMA camps and adjudicate them, that would answer everybody's problems without having anybody shot, or very many anyway. I'm sure there'll be a few that do decide that they ain't going to go. So my take on that is that I feel that the momentum should be maintained in terms of pushing for a radical settlement.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead,
Hi.
caller.
My name is Debbie, and I was part of the original rap beginnings, and I sat on the de jure grand jury of my state, and we constantly hear, well, another 2 to 4 weeks, hang in there. Things are moving, things are progressing, and here we are 2.5, 3 years later. We're no closer to getting anything done. We're no closer to seeing anything done. More people each and every year are losing their homes, are losing their businesses, are losing their children. And now we have this, hang in there, this mistake is going to work. And my question is this: how much longer are we going to have to sit here and wait for another 2 to 4 weeks before we start seeing something? It is very frustrating. It is very aggravating. I'm in the middle of a foreclosure myself, and I've got them dead to rights of producing fraudulent documents, but yet the judges are just playing ball with them, and they're having a hard time getting mine dismissed because I'm fighting them every tooth and nail. but there are others that aren't as strong and can't stand up and are afraid to speak. So when is this NESARA law that supposedly is law supposed to take effect, and when is the military going to stand up and say enough is enough?
I wish I knew the answer to when exactly. I'm hoping that it'll be that it won't be very long. I've been waiting on this. We started an effort in November, and we ran as hard and long with it as we could, and it still didn't produce the fruits necessary. And then I found out that the reason the military was waiting was because they wanted certain things done. Well, they're out of adding conditions, let's put it that way. There are enough people in this country right now who are mad and armed to give them a serious problem if that's what they choose, if they choose not to do anything. So my suggestion is that they probably will do something soon. I would like to have seen it yesterday.
I have a question.
I'm not in charge. If I could be in charge, I would already started initiating things. But
Can I chip in,
that's
Derek?
not my position. They give
One
me
second.
information, certain people do, and I pass on what I can of it in order to keep people as informed as possible. I'm hoping that it don't come to a shooting war, because that'd be a mess. And I mean a mess.
Can I chip
There's
in,
enough
Drake?
bad guys in key positions in certain places that there could be extraordinary damage, and I don't think that's cool.
Well, if NESARA is already law, okay, one, the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court cannot suppress law. If it's already passed, if Clinton already signed it, and it's already in law, it's already a law, then the U.S. Supreme Court cannot gag it. They can't suppress it. So why isn't somebody somewhere screaming from the rooftop, this is law, and it needs to, the people need to make their legislators and their president go by it. I mean, how come we've never heard of it if it's law?
That's because it was suppressed. Just like those technologies, every bit of record about it that could be found in a lot of ways was expunged. Now, my understanding is that the military has a copy, and they're going to make sure that it is implemented, acted upon. There's a difference in terms of law, and terms of law are simple. It can be all the law that you want, supported by everybody and their mother-in-law, and if somebody decides that they're not going to enforce it, then it doesn't mean anything. So our position is that, call your congressman, well, I don't know. It depends on if your congressman's dirty. Everybody could call the Pentagon and, say, hey, we've been waiting long enough. What's up? Let's do it.
Yes, because, 12 years is 12 years.
It's not a bad idea. Burn their phone lines up.
Okay, we have.
Why is the military sitting on this? If it was done 11 to 12 years ago, what the heck is their problem?
Okay. All right, let's we've got a lot of questions. We've got questions in the chat room. We've also got a request for a chip in following another question, but we really have to take a break now. So we're going to take a break for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to come back. We're going to have the question, and then we're going to have a request to chip in. I think somebody wanted to expand on something that was being discussed at the moment. We have a post-show, post-Drake and Company show this afternoon. We'll be talking about how things are going in the Facebook Global Voice 2012 page. Just talk to people and see if we've got issues that need to be dealt with. Also, Bina and Gina in the morning talk, tunes, and callers. An enjoyable way to break up the day. The Bina and Gina Show is Saturdays 10 a.m. to noon Eastern on the Global Voice Radio Network. This is a Global Voice Radio Network simulcast of the Drake and Company Update.
Blasting the voice of freedom worldwide, you're listening to the Global Voice Radio Network.
Okay, and we are back to the program, Drake and Company Update, the vote update show. Question, we've got you. You're now number 3 in the queue. We have
a question also here.
Okay, we have a question followed by a chip-in.
I can answer that lady's question. This is Mr. B.
Mr. B, if you can hold on for just a moment, we've got a couple of people that were in here in front of you, and I'm sure she'll be able to hear you. Now, the first question that raised their hand before we went to a break, I'm going to give it to you, and then I will hand it off to the chip-in comment following you. Go ahead, sir. Going once? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I'll go ahead and do it. My name's Rob Thomas out of Melbourne, Florida. I've been following Drake from the beginning. Got a lady friend down here. She owns a farm. A lot of disabled vets come there, homeless vets. She's got a kind heart. Question is, with these type of people who barely get benefits, $125 for a bad knee or something they got in, are those collateral accounts designed to put cash in those type of people's hands so they can make a living?
No, not exactly. What's going to happen is that these things that have been under the restraint of budgetary problems are going to be supposedly rectified through what I mentioned before, the trading platform. If you put a certain amount in, you get a certain amount out. Well, if you double that, you get double. So if the people who set this up, restructure it, do so correctly, then you're going to have people that can have a decent living amount of compensation for getting their leg blown off or whatever. One guy, there's a lot of things that need to be changed. There was one guy I heard about that really torqued by his screws. He gets blown up, and I mean he loses a leg, I think a hand. And because he didn't turn his equipment in, they wanted to charge him for it. So they give you an idea as to what kind of idiots we're dealing with. These people either need to be replaced and or the system rectified to a point where that isn't even possible, that those ideas don't ever cross anybody's head. In terms of foreclosure, farm problems, and things of that nature, look at what is posted about the Nacera history. It'll take a little time, but you can form what's called a group, and when you get a bunch of litigants together, you cause changes. This is what happened to Bank of America. This is what happened to the changes in the foreclosure procedures for a while. When you get a class action together, you can cause a general interest, which deals with general trust and a few other things that these people have to abide by. And depending on how whatever it is that's going on is presented in terms of following specific procedure, depends on the outcome of the case. This is 99% of it. You have to have your stuff in order, and you have to follow a very exacting procedure. When that's done, you'll find that a lot of the legalities that have been pushed against people have a tendency to either at the very least evaporate or ruled in their favor.
Okay, so at this point, there's no allowance that's been made for people that have been disabled and have basically been given a check that they could probably blow on dinner between two people. So what you're saying is they haven't done that yet?
No, that's not been taken care of. You have to wait until the realignment and whatnot before that's going to have some effect.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
One last question, Drake. I've been following you from the beginning. One of your shows a while back, you threw it out there towards the end that you was actually working on one of the zero-point technologies or the free energy devices. Any word on that?
Yeah, I'm still working on it.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, brother.
All right. Now, we did have somebody that had a comment that they referred to as a chip-in. And then we've got a lady caller with a question after that, and then we've got Mr. B after that. Let's take them in order if we can. Chip-in, are you still there?
I have. Okay. Jimmy Lovell, yeah. Just a quick note about Rap Trap Bruce. Don't want to divert the call.
I'm trying to get a question on this live radio show.
Oh, okay. Well, am I on air?
Yeah, yes, you are. Go ahead, Jim.
A few months later, they were saying things that were mutually exclusive. I was one of the original signers, and the only promises they fulfilled were to make websites. And then West Virginia elected me governor. Didn't want it, but they did it. I learned what was happening in the other states from the governors, tons of discrepancies. I helped expose from within. Terry Hinkle has done a fabulous job of exposing it for what it was and is. Now, I detected almost nothing but guile in that deal, and I met Drake in person. We've spent hours on phones. I met him with his wife. When you're around a man and his wife, you can tell how he treats her by her countenance, I guess you'll call it, or expression, whatever. But I detect no guile in him. Now, also, what he says clicks with what's happening economically. And I have a few contacts around on the world, and I have no inside intel. But this is as different from night and day. It is different night and day from rap. I don't want to distract the call. We got things to do. I'll shut up.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Now, we had a lady caller with a question. Are you still with us? Oh, I guess not. Was that the lady caller unmuting?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have been listening about how the financial part and stopping the bankers and stopping the flow of money, but I've not heard anything about the really major flow of money for how this particular cabal that's running this country rolls, and that is on drug revenue, illegal drug revenue, the heroin trade. I remember Christopher Story writing 4 years ago that the Illuminati side on the other side of the pond got into a fight with the cabal over here and seized their lock boxes and forced the Carlyle Group into bankruptcy. I know for a fact that was effective because people started pouring into my neck of the woods, having been laid off from that company, which is a front for the cabal. I'm just wondering, and the other piece, too, is I'm very familiar with how government contracts work, and I'm also familiar with the fact that for years now, no alphabet agency has been paying its bills. What ends up happening is the subcontractors get a contract, and then when the bills aren't paid, they end up selling the accounts receivable, and that's how they keep open. So is all this being taken into consideration? Because that's where, as my understanding is, that there's more money there than in banks. And if you also, in terms of the banks, if you don't do something about the Bank of England and their money laundering operation, which is, where all of this funny, undercover money from the drug trade, it's all laundered through there, as are a lot of these Wall Street type of deals, where they don't want people to know what they're up to.
Right. Good question. Drake, can you touch on that?
What count?
Yeah. What she's talking about is a combination of black screen money nobody knows exists, that gets pushed around here and there. She's also talking about being able to stop that flow of cash so they don't have any revenue. And that's not as difficult as a lot of people like to think it is. It will be... people call it the drug war. Well, you just wait. You ain't seen nothing yet. The fun's going to be starting soon because there's a lot of people who won't put up with that. Now, I don't think that certain things should be some sort of felony. I don't think that certain things should be adjudicated beyond a fine, if that. And I don't believe that we should stick to a treaty that outlaws things that are less damaging than alcohol. So, in my considered opinion, as I said before, I think there's going to be a lot of changes. Now, one of those changes is going to be that the Golden Triangle is going to be shut down. This I have heard in rumor only. I heard that's going to be shut down. That ought to make a pretty good difference. I've also heard that the southwest border is going to be closed, and by that I mean I heard they're going to plant landmines on our side of the fence and use certain portions of it for a live fire range to test weapons. If it was me and I was going to look across the border, I definitely would not like the idea of tiptoeing through a minefield, nor would I like the idea of maybe a tank going off next to me that might be aimed too close. So there are ways to accomplish things, and you don't necessarily got to hurt anybody. That's not what I'm saying. But if somebody realizes that it might be absolutely deadly to climb that fence, for instance, or come across, that puts a different spin on it. Then you're going to have a whole lot of boats.
Yes, it does.
And those are fairly easy to spot. So, you know, in terms of drugs and drug money, there's a lot of things in our base society that is going to have to be really brought out to the people. Who wants what? How do you want to handle these things? And what do you want to do about it? And this is going to be part of the legislative process of that 24/7 voting I was talking about. We're going to need to make the decisions specifically.
Thankfully, we have the technology in place to make 24/7 voting a reality, and as reasonably from the computer in your living room. We had a question or a comment from Mr. B. I thank you for your patience. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Now, that young lady that was asking about the Supreme Court, there is one group of people that has authority over all of the federal court system. Now, what she needs to do is send letters to each member of the House that's in the Judiciary Committee. She needs to send letters to the Senate. The legislation that she wants has to originate in the House. Then it's sent to the Senate, and there's 100 people that have to decide on the legislation that she wants for her protection of her property. So then after it goes to there, you have one man that can say yes or no to what is eradicated in the Senate and the House, and that's the president. Hopefully that she has enough votes in the Senate and the House to override him if he should veto this. So she's got to send information to the two houses and have it sent to the president and have it eradicated for her outstanding. Now, I only wish that our Congress would sit down and tell these people that are sitting on the Supreme Court that they have no authority to go to these international agreements and all this other stuff, and if they should keep that up, they would be removed from office. Yeah, I just hope that they will stay within the Constitution, and the Congress has to tell these people that are sitting in our court system that they have no more authority to go to anything other than the Constitution. I think that should answer her question. Now, I do know of a group of people that are working on the same situation that she has, and if she can get to Mr. Drake and give him my phone number, I will see that it goes to the proper people that I do know that's working in the same situation that she has of losing her home and all of this other stuff. I hope that I've helped her with some aspects of what she's looking for.
All right. Thank you, Mr. B. Always a pleasure. And now we just went through our short list of questions. Do we have any other questions out there?
Yes, I've got a question or a statement.
Hi, who's this?
This is Texas Cowman.
Oh, hi there. Go ahead.
One of the things that bothers me about this, and I'm all in favor of been watching this since 1999, is that I've heard that we're going down all this is going to take care of everybody down to the governor. Well, if we don't go down all the way to district judges and prosecutors, we haven't accomplished anything. because there's more crooked judges and prosecutors in the state of Texas than there is cows. And another thing, I've heard that they're going to retrain the judges and lawyers that have committed treason by getting the bar number. There's more crooked judges and prosecutors in the state of Texas than there is cows. Where are we at on all that? Another thing, I've heard that they're going to retrain
You got an echo.
judges
Yeah,
and lawyers.
quite. Can you turn your radio down, please?
Okay, first of all, what everybody needs to understand is, yes.
Let me mute. There
Can we
we
shut
go.
that off?
Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Okay, what everybody has to understand is, yes, they're only going to come down to about the governor level. This is where localization, community efforts, and that sort of thing come in. This is where we, the people, on the local level, take care of the turkeys that are doing it to us simply because they get paid to do so. This is where the people need to be aware of the structure of their local government, know that something's funny when a guy all of a sudden is driving a Cadillac and he makes $200 a week or whatever. You look at the funny things and then require an explanation. Whether you got to do that legally or however, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to accomplish that, but it's going to be up to the people to clean up down to the local level from about the governor down. In short, the communities will have to start at the county and progress from the county to where counties agree, and then you have a majority of people aware. Then you start advertising so that more people can hear about it, and you move the movement or effort along so that these things can be changed in terms of what these people are doing. Now, remember, the legal system is going in for a heavy makeover, so that's going to make some changes of its own. Okay?
All right. Thank you for the question. Thank you, caller. Do we have another question out there? And in a moment, I'm going to revisit the chat room and see if I can get some more tasty ones for you, Drake.
Hello.
Hi.
I have a question. Hi.
All right. Who are we talking to?
This is Linda.
Linda. Hi. Go ahead.
Hi. I've been following for a long time. I'm curious, now that we have taken the vote that isn't quite a vote, just a show of interest, could Drake please set down a sort of step-by-step plan as he sees it of what will happen now? I know that he can't be specific, but a sort of a plan that, for instance, we might go ahead and generate a full treaty in its official form. We might present it to whoever. They might do whatever. They might have this much time. In other words, that would alleviate, I think, a lot of people's feelings about nothing is happening. If we had kind of an idea of how many steps we would have to go through before we can finally see what might be an answer to our problem.
Okay, basically you got two primary problems. First of all is that people will not even bother to vote as much as they should. They won't go tell their neighbors, hey man, you want to vote for freedom? I've got a place you can do that. Or we would add 10 times the number of respondents that we did on that little short vote that I took. That's first. Secondly, I would rather not put out a specific, because even in generality, that if I did something of this nature, people are going to want to absolutely hold that as gospel, and that may not be the case. As we have now, there is apparently negotiations. They want to know what the bad guys want. The bad guys want to know what we want. The only reason I took that vote was to give the bad guys something to look at in terms of what we want. So that's primarily it, to find out where people are at. You do not get the kind of interest necessary, because it does not affect the mundane little lives of a whole bunch of people. When Social Security doesn't arrive, or water don't work, or the telephone goes out, or the internet's fried, or there ain't no TV, then will people take notice and maybe look to do something. Probably the only thing they're going to be interested in is turning back on whatever got turned off. When they find out that somebody else did it to them just for the fun of it, hopefully they get upset enough to actually take some action. Hopefully the military will have taken action before that happens. But until I hear something definitive, and I've asked for a high-level officer to contact me, that they are willing to uphold the plan as it's written, and that they are willing to acknowledge not only what we've accomplished, but that they are willing to perform as they've stated until that point. And I mean signed. I don't mean some kind of blank piece of paper anybody can dream up. Then several of us will take a look at that officer, see whether or not he's cool. If he's not kosher, if he's dirty or something, then we'll know where it came from. If not...
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Then we're dealing with the good guys.
Hang on.
And I'm waiting on that level of officer to get back to...
Okay. Then I think we need to be able to spread out the information more than just via the small way we're doing it now. How can we reach more people on a major Facebook blast, or is there funding somewhere that we might do some advertising or something of the sort to make more people aware of it? It's very difficult to make people believe what you're telling them. I mean, when I talk to other people, they kind of look at me like, "Oh yeah, So, you got to get over that hump and make people believe. So, does this mean that we will have to simply wait until the sky starts falling before we can start getting at the message and getting a clear into it?
I'm hoping that it don't take that long. I'm hoping in the next few days I hear something so positive I can't stand myself, and I can go actually on to broadcast news across the country with the blessings of the military and say, hey, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, all this stuff I've been talking about on all these interviews and whatever in these terms of, small internet shows, now it's time to crank it up, because guess what? It's happening. And that will be a green light situation. Okay. When I post green light, it's going to travel all over the place. I'm going to post it in the chat room, Facebook page, my website, and I've got two press release points, groups that I am a member of here in the States, where a lot of people go for news. I've got several broadcast stations who are willing to allow me to break in at that point with that news. So it will be an extraordinary explosion, I'm sure, when people hear that, because they're going to repeat it until people get it.
Good.
So at that point, it would actually be on mainstream news. And,
exactly.
And the
and
whole
this
population.
is what we have to... I've been playing hurry up and wait all my life, let alone in the military, and finally got to the point where the lifestyle where I live, which is Appalachian Highlands, is slow enough that I don't have any of the hurry up, but you get to wait a lot. So I'm getting used to waiting at the very least. I don't like it. Believe me, I don't like this any better than anybody else. Here I am. I'm supposed to be able to get, maybe even accomplish something. Well, I can bring news. I can try to keep people informed. I can try to continue to wake people up, but until they see, something real that they believe, like on Fox or whatever, pick a news station, it don't matter. Until something like that goes across the ticker and the announcer actually says something, this is basically relegated to conspiracy theory. Ooh. Exactly. Well, the only difference is that I have supplied some documentation to offset some of that. That's very limited. I cannot out my specific contacts because they would be endangered. I'm not going to do that to anybody.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. We've got a ton of questions. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have a ton of questions, and we need to move forward, and we can't hang on one topic too long. We do have a comment from Finally Free 420 in the chat room. Some in our government are so clearly guilty of treason. Is there a reason why we can't start just arresting them now? And Finally, Free says that if they were to do half of the stuff some of these people are doing, the police wouldn't have a problem busting their door down.
Exactly. You need to find a cop, federal marshal or whomever, who would be willing to arrest the turkey. Or, go apply yourself and become one and then go after him.
Okay.
I've advocated this for a long time. There was recently a state that took away the sheriff's arrest powers. And I told the sheriff, go arrest the turkey. That was the attorney general of the state. Well, you don't have the right to do that. That's legislation. That's not something somebody says. And that didn't happen. Well, now they got problems there. So, until people find out that the person they see in the mirror is the leader, that's where the problem lies. It's more than just waking up. It's realizing that if I don't do it, it ain't going to happen. If it's to be, it's up to me, all that stuff. So there's the answer.
Okay, if the FDA is guilty of crimes against humanity, why aren't they in jail?
I'll say it again. Somebody did not become a federal marshal and go arrest them.
Okay. Good.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Okay. We have a lady caller. Are you the same one that was asking the questions before?
Is that me? Are you speaking to me?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Glory, and what I'd like to say is, first of all, a big thank you to Drake and everyone, all of you involved, and especially for the Facebook page, because for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm not alone. And it's been a long, lonely battle all of these years, because I've been on to a lot of this forever. And I became, aware of this very shortly after the lawsuit was filed back in November, because I'm in the financing business. And I've spent a quarter of a century in the real estate and finance business. And what's going on with foreclosures is, as everyone knows, atrocious. But what sickens me the most is the way people are rolling over and walking away. And I sat in court this week because 5 years ago, first of all, the banks put me out of business, and second of all, they want to take my home. And I personally have been into this for 5 years. There's a lot of help out there, and I'd like to offer my help. Because there's so many arguments that can be made in court. The biggest thing people need to know is that fraud was committed when the mortgages were split into fractional shares and turned into stocks, because a mortgage legally cannot become a stock. And that's the biggest thing.
Okay.
So when I sat in court this week, this judge was, I felt, this judge was amazing. He was sickened by what was going on. Too many people don't show up for court, and the ones that did were just going along. So what I'd like to say is, I think that a lot of the callers kind of know who I am. If anyone's in a situation, let me know. I'll share with you what I can, or I'll point you in the right direction.
There's something I got to add to that. The posting of the Nacera history. If you read toward the end of it, from about the last third, say, give or take, you'll find that there was fraud proved. And if you can prove fraud, in other words, somebody does not have the title, you don't have the title to the property, forget it. You can't do squat. Okay? A lot of people are ending up with free houses because of that particular little problem right there. Number two, if you can actually prove fraud, in other words, you sent payment and it was returned or whatever, things of this nature, or something where they said, well, you missed one payment and we're going to take it anyway, or whatever the situation may be, Look at the Nacera cases, and you'll find that there is a lot of information on dealing with foreclosure and fun and games with properties that the banks like to play with. The main thing that everybody has to remember is that the individual is the creditor. It's the originator of the credit used to buy your home. So therefore, you don't owe nobody. Got to look that up. I'm not going to do this for you, everybody, but a lot of the information that you're looking for in terms of Supreme Court issues and things of this nature dealing with land control, land rights, can be found in the case reference in Sarah. Then continue to go forward from that point, and you'll find more.
That's absolutely true, Drake. But the thing that I wanted to say is that based on what's going on currently and the fact that all of this will be changing in the very near future, the main thing is the other day while I was only in court, maybe no more than 3 hours, I saw at least 150 houses stamped for foreclosure.
Yeah, that's called a rocket docket.
So
and
my concern is that if anyone...
we proved it illegal in Florida and got a 6-month moratorium on it.
Well, there was a moratorium here in many places.
The individual has to have direct interest in the equity, whatever that is, be that real estate or bonds, stocks, gold, whatever it is, in order to put these things forth. So you got to find somebody that's got the kahunas to stand up in court and say, no, Your Honor, you can't do that, and here's why. May I approach? I got paperwork you need to read, and go from there.
Let me just say that the most important thing that people have to do now is raise any kind of objection. Just to stall. And it's a game, and you can keep going on and on and on. And the judges really, from what I saw with this particular judge, they're not happy with taking homes.
Yeah.
They don't want to do it anymore. They're sick.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, caller.
We need to move on to the next question.
Sure.
Thank you for the comment, caller.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Who's speaking?
My name is Scott.
Okay, Scott, go ahead.
Mr. Drake, I am the proprietor of a newspaper in Chicago. We are a small operation, but I think that people would have a better time of it if somebody would come on the record with the idea of keeping their anonymity by a third party. Is anybody willing? And you can find my name by doing a reverse search, and I can provide the people closest to this with my name, and find my name in a reverse search attributed to our newspaper, so that people can find a source that they can start to trust, and based on the basis of anonymity. Is somebody willing to come forward and start to corroborate this information?
That would be all well and good if they could guarantee there would be anonymity. Problem is, it is not capable to be kept anonymous.
I would guarantee if I came forward to where an undisclosed location, and I'm a former member of the armed forces, so you can take my word on it, I would guarantee anonymity so that this information can be corroborated, so that people have faith to hang on to the words that you are uttering in such manner. And I'm not trying to pour cold water on this, but I think that people need a trusted source, and I am trying to provide that trusted source so that people can have faith, and instead of reaping all of the negativity of all the naysayers about all of this, that a trusted source can be founded so that people can have a trust because it's being corroborated in an anonymous manner, but it is still being corroborated.
I understand what you're saying. There's a problem with that. Anything out of the ordinary in terms of movement of specific individuals causes them to be checked. When those individuals are checked and found any kind of funny business at all, They're stripped of all their privileges, to include security clearances, positions, etc. Sometimes they're
Okay. Okay, then would you be willing to talk with me anonymously on the phone, or I guess it wouldn't be anonymous at this point, but would you be willing to meet with me so that I can have enough faith that what we are reporting has actual basis in fact, and would you be willing to meet me person to person?
Well, I don't have a problem with that, but you're not going to get much more than what you get off this radio station. I can tell you that right now.
Well, I would have a lot more confidence. Eyeball to eyeball with you than I would. People are on the internet, and there is a lot of scuttlebutt, and I'm going to start using some military terms because scuttlebutt is a military term. There's a lot of scuttlebutt. And what this is doing is it is exacerbating a situation of people's frustrations all over the internet, not mine. I learned about this a few weeks ago listening to a program, because I'm a fan of Nori's broadcast at night, listening to David Wilcock. Well, that's all fine and good, and David Wilcock says that he's corroborated things through sources. Well, the problem with all of that is it's not a critical enough eye, not trying to be negative, but a critical enough eye in order to be able to provide the kind of corroboration so that people can have the confidence that they need. So that's my problem. But I would say that I would like to meet you and offer to come to you wherever it is that you offer, to come to you and meet you eye to eye so that I can gain a confidence and report this correctly in a news source that people can gather at so that they can also thereby gain confidence. We are preparing an article right now that is quite extensive to try and provide information that corroborates what it is that you're saying, Mr. Drake.
Okay. I think that Drake already answered your question. That even in a face-to-face meet, you wouldn't get any closer to a timeline or any more information than you would get here.
Eyeball contact.
Oh.
That would be a lot better than what I have now.
Okay, well, Mr. Drake's email address is available on the internet. Perhaps you can contact him. You guys could set something up. But right now, we have to move on to the next caller.
Can you provide me a contact email to you so that you can forward it to him, so that there is some kind of link there, or do you want me to just tell you which newspaper I'm talking about right now?
Certainly, send your email address with a request that it be forwarded to Drake, and send that to
What email address should I be using?
Send it to onefreepeople@gmail.com.
Onefreepeople the numeral 1.
No, the word 1. Onefreepeople@gmail.com, and that'll get it there. And I will forward it on to him personally.
@gmail. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Now on to the next question from the chat room. One moment. I've got the chat room questions stacking up. Liberty or Death in the chat room has posted the same question numerous times, and I would ask you to rephrase that question because I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. But on to a question from Wing. What will happen to the Supreme Court justices? Is it what's the plan for those fine folks?
Well, it depends on how clean they are. If they're not clean, they haven't ruled according to the Constitution, they're out of there.
Okay. So, let's do another question. Oh, no, that was a repeat of the other one. Okay, then I'm going to give it back to the, we had another question on the call. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Dan. Is this okay to ask a question?
Go ahead, Dan. Hi.
Yeah, I would like to have Drake explain the CUSIP number. CUSIP.
You're breaking up.
Can you explain the CUSIP number, CUSIP?
I would tell you to look it up on the internet. It's easier than me trying to explain it. You're asking for a extraordinary answer. You're gonna find a lot of different ways to gauge or measure things. Not necessarily correct. I hold CUSIP as being a little bit funny in some ways, but go ahead and look it up. Read it thoroughly. It's about 10 pages last time I looked. And that's the kind of answer I'd have to give if I wanted to cover that correctly. So, look it up, see what is stated, and then come back to another show, or like the man said, what was that, Paul?
onefreepeople@gmail.com.
And you send a question in there, and we'll see what we can do about answering it.
All right, thanks again, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
I
Hey,
have
Drake.
a comment.
Drake, you already gave a comment. We got you. We'll let you in here in just a second. You already gave the vote results, and we've got people that apparently missed it. Can you briefly touch on those again?
Yes, I will. Out of 4,818, we had 4,790 yes, 28 no. That means that yes was 99.4%.
Okay. What do you know about the RICO racketeering laws, and how are those going to affect the cabals? Or are any of the cabals complicit or considered to be a party?
Oh, yeah. There's a whole bunch of things. Obstruction of justice for all these idiots that call themselves judges and lawyers, among other things. To go along with that, when they become involved in agreeable rulings between themselves, they form their own little group that comes under the RICO statute. So there's a lot of different things that these people are going to have to deal with because they have violated the public trust, among other things. Some of those things, when you get into the areas when you get above that into the areas of treason, there are several sentences involved in that. It can be as little as 10 years. It can be as extreme as execution. It varies. So there you go.
Okay, thank you. We did have a question. Stu Webb has been creating a lot of buzz on the internet lately, and it's largely talking about you. Can you touch on that at all?
Guys saying Drake and all them ain't real.
Yeah.
What? I heard that in the background. What was that? It's all BS and the Drake ain't real?
Well, that's basically what he's saying.
Oh, well, that's good. Okay. I've answered a bunch of that on Facebook. Okay, if it's all BS and I ain't real, show me your documentation. I already put the liens out there and told you this is real as half of this ready to come about. It's not my problem. It's not my problem. Somebody have the capability to develop their own sources and come out with their own information. I'll let you match mine. If you can show me something that says I ain't real, go for it.
Okay.
Next question.
All right. We did have a question waiting. Go ahead.
It's Mr. B. I got another comment for you.
Okay, I think we had a question right before you, Mr. B.
The last member of the Supreme Court, the oath that young lady took, and you'll find that she never took the oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. The oath she took was a bunch of hogwash.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Okay, I thought we had a question in there before the comment. Is that question still waiting? Okay, go ahead, comment.
Oh. I would like to comment on the gentleman who called in maybe 20 minutes ago and asked whether the governors and prosecutors were going to be included in this effort. And apparently not, that the states are going to take care of this through elections. Well, I agree with this gentleman that the governors need to be included. In my state, for decades, people have tried to get the governor to uphold the law in our state. And governors are not going to uphold it when the perpetrators are their campaign contributors.
as far as the elections, with the fraudulent elections that are ongoing, it's no wonder people have no confidence anymore in wanting to vote. So I agree, and I hope that you will consider, Drake, to include the governors and any law enforcement in, the proposals that you're making. And thanks for your help.
Now I'm going to suggest something. If somebody finds somebody who is doing things of this nature, that it might be, especially, and I want to make this perfectly clear, if it is a matter of public record, then I would suggest that you go outside the state level into the federal court and file an affidavit against that man for breach of the public trust. Well, let's see, name something. Obstruction of justice.
Well, Drake, I filed an investigative demand with the federal court in my state. And the judge didn't even know what I was talking about, but they won't do anything in the federal courts. They're playing with the people, in the state too.
I understand what you're saying. Now, the affidavit I'm talking about is specific in terms of charges. And if you have public record to back these things, there's two things you have. Okay, in order to really do this successfully, two things you got to do. First of all, present your case to a federal court. Number two, go to the press. Oops. Now what are you going to do? You're going to now the dirty laundry is getting done in the public. Request everybody and their mother-in-law who's ever had a problem with the turkey to bring their documents. I mean, there could be more than one charge on this matter. If this guy is a RICO statute violator, he needs to go. Okay, this is the same thing is true of a federal judge. If the man does not uphold certain standards, you can file, against him. And if he is guilty, sorry about your stuff, you ain't a judge no more. You see what I'm saying? There has to be a bunch of people that's going to have to take a little bit of the initiative on their own. Not one person can do this. This is why I suggest community. This is why I suggest several people get involved. I know a lot, but I don't know all of it. Not by a long shot. It gets interesting when you start taking out judges and prosecutors and putting them in jail. It really does. Yeah. People start saying, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and what would you like today, ma'am? How can I help you? Please, don't hurt me. And this is basically what has transpired under a couple of the legal problems that I got involved with in several different places. We had the federal government was going to take over a small town, and I created an international incident out of it. There were ambassadors calling, wanting to know what the problem was. So, all you got to do, and that was just adding information. We backed up the Army Corps of Engineers, federal EPA, and one of the largest mining concerns on the planet. And they were asking us, what would you like and how would you like us to do it? So, all these things are possible if things are presented correctly and done the right way. But you got to have somebody, an individual, who has some sort of interest in some fashion to whatever the principle is and or whatever the problem is, especially if you got documentation and proof. You got documentation and proof, bingo.
Right, you have to file an affidavit with an affidavit is a statement of truth and fact, or a statement in evidence. Now, next question. We're going to have only enough time for a couple of more, and then we're going to have to wrap things up and prepare for the follow-up show. So, Mr. B, I know you did have a comment, and I have not forgotten you. I'm thinking I'm going to give you the last word. So, that question that chimed in there, go ahead and we'll see if we can wrap this thing up.
Okay, I want everybody, if at all possible, to go back and look at the oath that young lady took on the Supreme Court. You will find that she did not take an oath that says, I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. She took a baloney statement for her oath. You ought to go back and listen to it, if at all possible. I listened to it the day she took it, and I thought to myself, where did this idiot come from that gave her the oath? So go back and look at the oath that the last member of the Supreme Court took, and just remember, everybody, There is one group of people that has authority over all of the court system, and that is the Congress of the United States. And we have to get those people to start doing their job, or else we take and get rid of them sitting in their offices that think that they are above the law. No one is above the law, and you can't break the law to enforce the law. And that's the problem with our court system today, with our law enforcement. Half of them break the law to enforce the law, and they don't realize that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights say that you have to enforce the law according to the Constitution. That's about the end of my comment this time.
Okay, thank you. We've had a question in the chat, and I'm not exactly sure what they're asking. It sounds to me like they're making a statement, but let me see. Are we to understand that our military and our military leaders are hesitant to defend our country's citizens from domestic threats, like from the Dark Cabal, like, for example, soft killing our people and engaging in financial tyranny? Are those people actually on board or no?
There are a lot of them that are on board with us. What you have to remember is that as soon as somebody decides to start disagreeing, they have accident, whatever that may be, whatever that may entail. He was cleaning his gun, blew his brains all over the wall, or whatever it might, you can think of something. As far as military officers, every time somebody disagrees with mandates put out by the cabal, they're reduced in rank or terminated over a period of time. And this has happened several times in the past. Now, one person got rewarded for actions that were unbecoming, in my opinion, and promoted to a cabinet post. I don't particularly agree with that at all. Neither do the people that are good guys in the military. I would love some of these good guys in the military to be able to start taking action, but that ain't up to me. It ain't my call as to win. So, however much I don't like it, I get to wait just like everybody else.
Right. So what you're saying is before we can expect the military to be able to step up because they're trying to save their own skin, we've got to disarm the cabal as much as possible just to relax that control over them, and then things fall like dominoes.
Pretty much. And that's supposed to be coming in the near future. So when I'm apprised that everything's ready to go, I will ask a certain person that I've got contact with if it's how close we are to green light, and that person will tell me. And then I'll have a good idea when I need to make those calls and put that out.
Excellent.
When that happens, I'm going to spread that just as heavy as free beer, just as far as somebody handing out $100 bills.
Microbrews, dude. Microbrews. That's what it's all about. Okay,
But,
and on that note,
we do have to wait until the military is ready to be able to act, and they got a lot of logistics. They got a lot of tactics to go through, and they're still positioning. They're still making sure they're ready. So, I wouldn't discount them, and I can't denigrate them. I don't feel that it's altogether their fault that they have to wait. But there are it's like a court procedure. You miss one of the steps, it screws the whole thing up. They want to be absolutely sure that this comes out right. So, and so do I. So this is why, however much I disagree with the idea of having to wait, I get to do it anyway.
Okay.
And besides, everybody can look at this. Wait is a 4-letter word, so there you go.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think on that point, that's a great place to bring the show to a close.